What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Again, going through a new combo. Honestly, I want to explore every single archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh! And eventually feel pretty comfortable knowing what the cards do. And one of them that's kind of been floating around for a long time for me is Super Quantum. I know they have like a boss monster, and I didn't really know what it did until now. And I'll explain it. So I'm going to go through the combo first, and I'll explain it step by step. And then, I'm going to ask the question, to everybody in the comment section or as you're watching, is it even worth it? We'll see. But nonetheless, it's good to know like what Yu-Gi-Oh cards do in case you play against them, I suppose. All right, so we're going to start with the new card that has actually has not come out yet, Piri Rice Map. This lets you add a monster with 0 attack from deck to hand. And if you do, half your life points. Also, you cannot activate the effects of cards with that added monster's name until the end of the next turn, after this card resolves, or until you normal summon a monster with that name. I think a lot of people... I know, I guess the idea is that you can add hand traps, but are you really going to have search out hand traps to use during your opponent's next turn? I'm not sure. But there's going to be a lot of, times you're going to use this card. There's probably a lot of monsters in the game with 0 attack. And obviously here, there is a monster in the deck that lets you do that. And that is Super Quantal Fairy Alphen. So this says once per turn, you can target one Super Quant monster you control. Obviously, it can be itself. All face-up monsters your opponent currently controls become that monster's level. You contribute this card, reveal 3 Super Quant monsters with different names from your deck. Your opponent randomly chooses one for you to special summon from your hand, and then you foolish burial the rest, which is pretty good. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and normal summon that, use the effect. Although there's also this field spell. This is Super Quantal Mech Ship Magna Carrier. You can discard one card, then target one Super Quantum monster you control, special summon from your extra deck one Super Quantal Mech Beast XYZ monster with the same name, with the same attribute as that monster you control by using it as material, and it's treated as an XYZ summon. I don't know why that counts or why that matters. You can send this card from the field zone to the graveyard, then target 3 Super Quantal Mech Beast XYZ monsters with different names you control and or in your graveyard. Special summon one Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus, which is the boss monster, from your extra deck. And if you do, attach the targeted monsters and their materials to it as material. So this is not obviously, as you saw, or heard, I should say, this is not a once per turn. So you can continually use the discard effect, this XYZ summon, which I don't know. I mean, that feels insane that you have to use discard fodder to do that. I guess the idea is oh, the monster's on the field, so you're good to go. But man, you burn through so many resources in this combo to make this happen. And it's also not even the greatest payoff, you'll see. But, alright, now that you know what all the cards on the field do, let's go ahead. We're going to use that, the effect of the Fairy Alphen to choose 3, randomly special summon 1, send the other 2 to the graveyard. So, you're going to need all the different layers or whatever. I think they call them that, yeah. So you got the blue layer, you got the green layer, and you got the red layer. Now there's a whole lot of things that are going to trigger off, and I'll explain each of them. So, Chain Link 1. This is Super Quantum Blue Layer. When this card is normal or special summon, you can add one Super Quant card from your deck to your hand, except a copy of itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 of your Super Quant cards in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck. Why this card says shuffle them into the deck and draw 1, I will never know. Considering how much resources you burn in this deck, that would be super necessary if it was a good card. It's decent because you get to add a card, but let's make the deck even better, right? Chain Link 2, red. When this card is normal or special summon, you can target a Super Quant in your graveyard and add it to your hand. That's okay. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Super Quant monster in your graveyard, accept a copy of itself, special summon it, but it cannot activate its effects, which is, who cares? Alright. Chain Link 3 is the Super Quant green layer. If this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon one Super Quant monster from your hand. Alright. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can discard one Super Quant monster, or Super Quant card, draw one card, and then you can only use the effect of this card's name once per turn. Alright, so that one lets you draw a card, obviously, which is nice. Alright, so obviously with the red, we're going to go ahead and special summon the green, which we just use this effect for, so we got around that. It says you can't activate the effects on the field, who cares? Okay, so now we can start using this effect of the ship to discard, target, and then we can XYZ summon first into Super Quant Mech Beast Gram Pulse, 2 level 3 monsters. The effects of these cards are actually pretty good, which makes this deck even more annoying Like, why can't you just target it and then XYZ summon? Why do you have to discard? That is so lame to me. Because watch, or listen, whatever you want to call it. You can detach one XYZ material from this card, and then target one spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. This effect can be activated during either player's turn if it has Super Quantum Blue Layer, which of course it does on as material. So it's a quick effect pop with 2800 defense. That's pretty decent. So now we can use the effect again to discard, target the green, and then go into the green XYZ monster. This one says quick. It basically becomes a quick effect because we're always using the proper material. Once per turn, you can detach one Super Quantum monster from your hand or field. Or no, excuse me. You can target one face-up monster on the field, change it to face down. So it's a flip, which is not bad, obviously, if you can stop your opponent if they're not link summoning. A lot of times it's a very good effect. So we have a flip and a spell and trap pop, which is pretty decent. Okay, now we can use the effect of the Super Quantum White Layer. This says you can send one non-light Super Quant monster from your hand or field to the graveyard. Special summon this card from your hand in defense position. Now, when this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Super Quant monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this card's attribute and level become the same as that monster's. This card should definitely say you can Foolish Burial a XYZ monster too. It shouldn't just be from the deck, because like I said or explained earlier, like you can XYZ summon, you know, the great Magnus from like cards in the graveyard. So why can't I do that to like give myself at least a chance to go into Magnus easier? I don't know. Anyways, so the last discard there is going to give us our last XYZ monster. This is Super Quantal Mech Beast Lusterex. Okay, so this is another quick effect because we have the right material. You can target an effect monster on the field, negate that monster's effect face up. So we got a flip face down, we got a monster negate, and we have a spell and trap removal. We're going to ignore all of that, those good effects, because they're just so hard to summon, right? And we can finally use that field spell effect to go into the Great Magnus. And then we targeted one in the graveyard, and all of them get transferred, obviously, as material. So, we've burned every single card of resource here. And what is the payoff? This card says 3 level 12 monsters. Obviously, that's not ever going to happen. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 3 Super Quant Mech Beast XYZ monsters with different names from your graveyard. Obviously, you know, with all of the, well, they won't have their effects, but I guess you get them back, which is nice. It floats because he's putting so many resources into one card. All right, based on the number of materials, we have 5. We only have 5 materials on here, and we used every card in our hand. So we only get the first 2 effects, but I'll read all of them. 2 plus, obviously we're going to have that. Once per turn during the main phase, quick effect, you can detach one material from this card, shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck. Very cool. Non-targeting shufflement, that's obviously a very good form of removal, so that's good. 4, it's unaffected by card effects except by Super Quant cards. Very neat. And this is actually very cool because if you're able to go into like a Zeus, you have a board wipe, but this card obviously will not be sent to the graveyard because it's unaffected by card effects. That's really the best interaction in the deck, in my opinion. And then 6 plus, your opponent cannot add cards from their deck to their hand by card effects. That's great, but how are you going to get 6 materials on this card realistically? I mean, that felt like a perfect hand. And I will link, you know, where I found this video, where I found this combo on YouTube, you know, so you can go check out their video to see their gameplay. Because, I don't know if this is worth it. Like, I can go into Ultimate Falcon really like a lot easier with a lot more forms of disruption and raid raptors versus doing all of this. Now, if this card was easier, you know, to get materials as part of it, like if the field spell says that you can target, you know, like maybe twice per turn or thrice, whatever you want to call it, to just go into it, you don't have to use discard fodder. Now we're talking about something different because then you have follow-up plays for next turn. When you have this situation, it's like, I hope this works, which it probably will, but it's not like this has like a good battle phase effect either, where it's like, okay, this card can attack all your opponent's monsters once per turn, so it's like hard for them to get over. But if they were to chuck a monster in face down position, I guess you could shuffle it back, but I'm not so sure. I really am not. But it is a cool boss monster. I just wish it was easier to go into. But hopefully that was a good introduction to all the cards, because I think that's pretty much everything the deck has to offer. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.